Alrighty then. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Meet Music Knoxville. My name is Nick Horner, and I am the host today, and always actually on this show. Funny enough, this is a very exciting day because our guest for this month is this gentleman named Richi Worboys. I found his music online, White Stag solo project, metal meets jazz. I did a total fanboy thing, and I just reached out to his Bandcamp and said, hey, you're fucking great, and we should be friends. And we tried to hang, didn't work out, but now we're going to do this meeting live on air. But before I get to us rambling our way through the evening, we have to thank some sponsors. Raven Records, Union Place, Hutch and Howard, School of Rock Knoxville, and Energy Home Solutions are all a part of the team that helps make real Knoxville music happen. So thank you guys so much for contributing to the station. This has been a great place for community building through music and through culture. So we cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. Well, I guess I just did. I technically just told you how much we appreciate it, and it's a lot. And also, Meet Music Knoxville sounds a lot like another thing that's coming up called Make Music Knoxville, and it's on June 21st, and it's free music throughout the whole city. So if you're tuning in now or you're tuning in later, Google it, meetmusicknox.com, and the whole list is up on the website. And speaking of, I should also say that this Sunday at IMS Nature Center, Real Knoxville Music is doing a benefit show from 2 to 6, and it's a great cause. If you check out Real Knoxville Music on Facebook and other places, you'll be able to find more details about that. It's going to be a lot of great music. Yours truly will be playing, if you care, but maybe you don't, and maybe you're just here for our awesome guest.
That's cool
Richi.
Too. That's
Yeah,
cool too. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start with this conversation because, so first of all, what a name. I don't know what your chosen deity or lack thereof where this came from, but like Worboys. Where Worboys? Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's a real. That's not like a
No,
stage name.
that's my real name.
That's dope.
That's my real name.
What is that from?
It's Scottish, but you can't really trace it back
Yeah.
to its actual origins because it's kind of a Scottish bastard name.
Yeah.
The way I understand it, I might be wrong about that, but that's what I understand from it.
Got it. And is that like, are you from this part of Tennessee originally?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I've lived here my whole life.
Oh, dope. That's great. And then obviously White Stag, amazing music. Please check it out online. And then also the funniest thing, Audible narrator.
Yeah, that's a recent endeavor.
That's cool though. That's awesome. And I was like looking at the books, and they're sort of like, is it like dietary kind of?
They're kind of
Stuff?
random.
Yeah.
To be honest, so far I've been under contract with this same guy for a little while, and he wants me to do a whole series of like self-help books.
Wow.
So they're just all kinds of random things. Like I did one on hypnosis. They're like 2 on weight loss. They're like 3 bedtime stories. It's just random stuff. And he's from the Middle East, so as I narrate them, I have to like fix things that are mistranslated. It's such a strange endeavor.
Now, okay, so and this has to be asked. Do you still keep the Tennessee accent? Do you go to the Mid-Atlantic?
Well, actually, when I first started, I tried like a couple different accents to see how it went, and so far I just keep getting hired because I have this accent, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, maybe there's something in the self-help community. It's like soothing or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's really rare for people to have a Southern accent and be literate. What I mean?
Yeah, definitely that stereotype definitely exists. But yeah, no, I get it. And well, and so you clearly just had the recording gear around the house, and you just decided to do this, or did you have a connection with this guy? Did he reach out because he liked White Stag?
No, actually, it was a complete accident. so I had quit my job and I was trying to find like self-employment means.
Yeah.
And I went and tried something and it didn't work. And I was talking to my friend about it and he was like, well, you should just narrate like horror stories on YouTube or something. And so I Googled that and the Audible thing came up and I was like, well, I can sign up for that for free. Yeah, I'll do that. And here we are.
Huh.
Like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months later.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
just make music and read books.
And like more than one book. Like more than one book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't have a Southern accent, and I'm barely literate, so I just want to go back and circle back on that in case anyone was offended by that comment.
Oh, yeah, that was just a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. I'm playing, I'm bullshitting. But yeah, that's just crazy. Anyway, your music, I fell in love with it. Like I don't know how to explain it to the people without like them listening to it, but it really is this beautiful combination of that sort of like untethered sort of jazz energy, sometimes the instrumentation, sometimes not, but also, you know, and also like arrangement qualities like that, but then also this sort of meditative like metal kind of thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know how to describe it either. I can't be of any help to you there. The closest, I just gave up and started telling people it was an avant-garde project because that's like as close as you're going to get to describing it.
And that's a great way to give up too. It's like, you know, just like, it's just that hilarious thing of like, oh, it's avant-garde. So it's like, no one's going to like it. And then when people like listen, they're like, oh my God, this is fucking great music. It's like, yeah.
You just can't explain it to people is all. There's something there for everybody. It's just a matter of how long it takes you to find it. That's all.
Right, exactly. So where did this come from? Have you been, I actually know a lot of people who cross those borders with the jazz and metal thing, and no one quite like you. Where does this come from for you?
It just happens. Honestly, I don't set out with the intention of making weird stuff. It's just like, as I'm writing the song, I'll be like, oh, you know what? Let me try this out. And then it works or it doesn't. But, you know, if you don't try anything new, you're never going to know if anything new is going to work. So I'm just always trying like new techniques of doing stuff. And it always just makes things come out weird for some reason. I don't know. I always set out to write a normal song and it never ends up that way.
That's good though. That's like, you know, that's what innovation is. You know, it's like you just own the mistakes, and it's like a Miles Davis quote about that. You know, I'm not going to regurgitate it because I feel like,
no, I don't want to butcher that, and some jazz snob be like, that's not what he said.
actually, so did you talk to me about your childhood musical upbringing? You know, like, was metal always a part of the equation? Was jazz always a part of the equation? What was there? What are the ingredients in the pot?
Well, actually, I'm kind of the only person in my family that listens to the music I do. I guess my uncle handed me a guitar for like my 11th or 12th birthday, and I was kind of, instead of hanging out with people after school, I would just sit in my room and like make noises until something sounded good. And I guess over the years, I just collected more and more instruments. And so as I would get these instruments, I would be like, well, I need to go find music that uses that instrument so I can learn how to play it. Because I've never taken lessons for instruments. I'm all self-taught. So I would go and seek out these sources to learn how to play the instrument and be like, well, I'm just going to use that sound in general, you know?
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Yeah. Fascinating. And so who, you know, what would you say, just a short list, like what, like your instrumental voice comes through what instruments? Guitar, obviously you've been playing that for a long time, but what else is like?
Guitar, I really have a place in my heart for the kalimba and the glockenspiel, but I like to use them at the same time. It's like, kalimbas they're diatonic. They only have white keys, and you can't play jazz with only white keys. So, you know, just throw the glock in there for another layer. Then obviously I love playing flute. I have a huge like world flute collection. I have like 8 flutes hanging on my wall at home. That's really, I guess, and harp.
Cool.
I got my dad got me a Celtic harp for my birthday last year, and oh man, I've used it in everything since then.
Yeah. Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
I just got actually, Make Music Knoxville, Panyard. Do you know about Panyard? Panyard's this company here in the States that makes a lot of the steel drums. No, I'm sorry. That's not the way you say it. It's steel pans. They make the steel pans for like university ensembles that want to do like Trinidadian music and stuff like that. But one of the guys lives here, and he's helping out with one of the Make Music Knoxville events, and so
nice.
he gave us to hold on to like 3 of these jumble jams, just a G scale, and it's like,
I bet that's fun.
I want it on everything, just all the places where you're not supposed to have steel pans.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I know all about that. There's nothing quite as satisfying as sticking an instrument where it's never supposed to go and then it working.
Yeah.
It's so gratifying.
Oh yeah. And it's like great arrangers. You know what I mean? Like I don't know whether Danny Elfman does his own stuff. He just just as a guy who popped into my brain right now, like just really interesting marriages of different worlds of instruments coming together.
Yeah.
And you just have that possibility when you have things like a Celtic harp around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Admittedly, it became like somewhat of an addiction at some point to be like, well, I need to get a new, different instrument now. I've recorded all of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty soon, it's like, I don't know. You get the like organ in your house, and your family's breaking up because
right.
No one has.
Yeah. I had kids, so like we have to share toy space, is what it is.
Yeah. So, do you play music with your kids?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, the last EP I released, Music by Numbers, in the background of every song is a recording of one of my 2 sons. And I just I pitch shifted and I tuned them so that it's in the same scale as whatever section. But like my kids are hidden in almost all the music I've released since emergence.
Dude, that's crazy. Now, see, this is why I have a notebook. I have a notebook. Folks at home, you can't see it here in the studio. I have a notebook because I will just start talking about something and will forget what I wanted to talk about.
Well, I know all about that.
Yeah. So I before we move on too much from your musical background, like, who are those voices in guitar that you're really drawn to, like guitarists? Because you said it's like, you'd get an instrument and then sort of learn around that, and versus the flute, what were you listening to that sort of comprised those skill sets that were important to you?
Well, a lot of Between the Buried and Me. They're a huge influence. And then I saw there's this old jazz guitarist. He's an old acoustic jazz guitarist named Joe Negri.
Huh.
I saw him on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood playing acoustic, and it blew my mind. And I went and looked him up. So he's a really big acoustic influence, actually.
Wow.
Then Opeth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I listen to such random stuff as the thing. Like over the last year, I've fallen in love with Jacob Collier. Mm-hmm. Actually, yep. I jam him a lot. So I don't know. It's a bunch of random stuff. I don't know that I really have a favorite anything. It's just all about experimenting with new sounds.
Yeah.
I definitely tend to lean more towards avant-garde than anything. But even that is such a broad term that that's basically useless.
Yeah. I mean, and My mentor was a jazz drummer who was definitely in that world, downtown New York scene kind of guy, more often out, not playing in time than in time. In that, I don't know that's the right way to say it, but it's just that I feel like a lot of his music, it's like it really stretches these barriers of meter. And but it was amazing, like when I got into the real world myself, and I was like, basically everyone in the jazz world felt like they were just putting a foot somewhere else. Right. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what's cool is it's like you're sort of just putting a foot in the jazz world. Yeah. And
that was kind of the intention. I didn't want to like be known as a jazz musician.
Yeah.
But I just love it so much that I can't, like, jazz theory is just way too much fun to not use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I end up with these jazzy parts that weren't supposed to be jazzy when they started. But
Yeah.
whatever, I'll go with it.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And I think that's really powerful. Is like, we're so used to like in metal, this droning element to it. It's like even metal that moves harmonically, like it does sort of have this wall of sound thing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that is one thing that I specifically try to avoid.
Yeah.
Is that wall, that sonic wall effect, because that's like it's one of the few things I don't appreciate about the genre. Actually, is like even the great experiment, like Between the Buried and Me, perfect example. They're like as experimental as you get, but they're always using the same sounds to do that. So unless you're specifically tuned into it, it's easy to just get lost in that wall of noise, even with as diverse and interesting as they are. So like that's something I specifically try to avoid. Is like even moments of fragmentation where the same melody is repeated incessantly, it still switches instruments because the different texture is what gives everything its feel, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And that sense of motion, you know?
Exactly.
And it's funny because it's like, because I saw you just released music recently and I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but so I can't talk about that, but I can say the last music that I listened to, I was really blown away by the way you were able to be so delicate at times. It really had that feel to it and that intimacy, but still, all of those elements of metal and the avant-garde that are like,
yeah,
just really powerful.
Was that Mimosa Lane? The acoustic jazz.
It didn't. No. I don't think it was acoustic. I think it was around the time we started talking. What was a recent release around that time?
Well, let's see. I've released Mimosa Lane and Music by Numbers.
Maybe it was Music by
last two. One's metal and one's very much acoustic. So
no, I guess it was Mimosa Lane then.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
I think
that sounds
I'm sorry.
right. I don't know.
Yeah.
The timeline is so stuck at home all the time.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's funny because like in my work in the avant-garde, it's my favorite thing is like, a solo drum record, like, and you put names on the tracks, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it was like, oh my gosh, Whirlwind, what a hit, it's like, you know what I mean? So I apologize. I wish I remembered that.
No, I don't. By no means do I ever walk into, and expect people to like know my music, let alone remember the names.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about like 13-minute songs that go through every conceivable genre. Like, no.
Yeah.
I definitely understand.
So, not to dovetail away from that too far, but man, who are thinking specifically about composers? Who are the people that most inform, would you say, your compositional style?
Okay, so compositionally, that has been somewhat of an interesting journey over the last year or so, actually, because I had never studied music theory at all until after Emergence. And I started, so I guess for 2 years or something, I've been studying theory, and I ended up running into people like Stravinsky and Bartok and post-expressionism,
Yeah, oh
and
my gosh,
postmodernism, and I just absolutely fell in love with all of these super weird things they were doing. So in looking into that, I came across this book called 20th Century Harmony.
Yeah.
For the life of me, I cannot think of the name of the guy who wrote it, but in that book is like every weird thing I ever wanted to do in music. He's like, oh yeah, this is a general guideline of how to do it. Yeah. And it just, I studied it for like 3 or 4 months, and every new chapter, when I learned something, I would go and use that to write a song.
Cool.
And that's how this weird thing I have going on came to be. So compositionally, it's really just a mishmash of concepts from different like turn of the century composers.
Yeah.
That don't really belong anywhere.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing how fresh those things, like the Rite of Spring, like anytime I hear that, that first, or I guess not the first movement, it's the famous one, it's that like, that still moves me to this day.
Oh yeah.
And that caused a fucking riot, 1913 or whatever. It was, I mean, just like,
And like the Petrushka chord. 'Cause
yes.
it gets me. Actually,
Oh my gosh.
admittedly, I stole that and I used it as like, that was the basis for a whole song.
Yeah. Dude, I fell in love with, and this is totally nerding out. So folks at home, grab some coffee because we're about to go down nerd lane. And you're going to doze hard. But I'm going to say, not the Petrushka, the Tristan and Isolde chord.
Yeah.
That one, I was just sitting at the piano at work the other day, and it was like, I finally like understood it. Like I understood that like minor 7, flat 5 feel. Like I because it like for so long it was, that's how I'm gonna get someplace.
Right.
And in that moment it was like, no, this is the place.
Yeah. The dissonance is what makes it beautiful.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I love it. I love a good dissonance.
Yeah.
For all you polyrhythmic lo-fi lovers out there.
Yeah. So, we got sort of that. So what was life before this? Because you said this harmony journey was a recent endeavor.
Right.
What was life musically before that?
Well,
how would you? Yeah.
Well, it's because this wasn't always a one-man thing. So we were a full band.
Was that a duck?
That was me ejecting the cassette out of my.
That was the door locking automatically.
Oh man, where was I? Oh, right. This wasn't always a one-man project. We actually did have a full band up until Emergence was the last record we recorded together, and then it kind of just fell apart. Everybody went their separate ways after that due to life circumstances, and I was just at that point. I had my first kid, so I was at home most of the time anyway. So I just kept writing and kept doing, and about, I guess, a year or two later, I finally released the first song since Emergence, and it just went so well that I was like, this, no doubt, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, man, yeah, totally. Now, when you were with this band, with the band, same name,
yes,
White Stag?
Yeah, it was still White Stag.
Yeah, and how long were you White Stag with a band?
Man, I'm not sure. I guess we started in the end of 2013 or sometime in 2014. So It's been a long time now. Actually, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, that's a run. And there's development in it, which is cool.
Oh yeah, we all grew up and developed our own styles together for 2 or 3 records. Mm-hmm. But some things aren't meant to be the way they start off.
Totally.
They're meant to grow into something else.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I definitely appreciate the journey that you've been on.
I'm grateful for it. It's led me to a lot of strange and interesting places, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you so just timeline-wise, the pandemic happened last March. Mm-hmm. When did you start doing stuff on your own?
Oh, well, I have a leg up on that I had started doing stuff on my own like 4 or 5 months before all of that started, cool. Actually. So by the time lockdown happened and everybody had to stop playing shows, my fan base already existed solely online. Yeah. So I just ran with it.
Yeah. And how do you communicate with your fans? Like, what do you use, social networking, or is there?
Honestly, I get up at 5 a.m. every day and I get on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and I go through and I message everyone who follows the band page and I reach out to new people and spend like 3 or 4 hours every morning just talking to people who listen to my music.
Awesome. Yeah. That's like textbook, I mean, I feel
it's one thing to like garnish a bunch of followers and be like, oh, look at me, I have 2,000 people who follow my page. But if those people don't actually listen to your music, what good does it do you?
Right.
And there's no way that I'm going to convince people to listen to my, it's not like I can just hit you up off the street and be like, yo, listen to this. You're going to put it in, listen to it for 10 seconds and be like, the fuck just happened to me? So, but,
this
beyond
guy just
that,
slipped me acid?
Right. But beyond that, like, it's one thing to have a follower. It's another thing to have a fan who has personally spoken to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's in the end, music is all about the connection anyway. You know, my soul has something to say, and if it speaks to your soul, then that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. Yeah, totally. I'm on the same page. Well, and I think that that's particularly true of anyone who falls outside of this cookie cutter thing, you know, and which is most artists, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, unless you can perfectly do Katy Perry or, I don't know, beyond, like, unless you can really create that product that literally is so impenetrable that anyone who hears it is like, oh my God, I'm just locked in because this is ear candy and I'm a sugar addict, you know? Unless you're doing that, like, it's almost like you have to do that. You know, that's really what it's all about, because there's a human element to not being perfect, you know, and that's what people want, you know?
Yeah. Personally, I have a really high value for music with that person, like lo-fi things, and like when you can tell it was all recorded in a bedroom. I have a really deep appreciation for that. And I agree with you. Like it's really hard to get anywhere if you're not cookie cutter. But what's the point of that, you know?
Right.
What's the point of that? That's no fun. Yeah. And you're right. It is a product more than anything. It's a product. It's like if I can get on a playlist and listen through 30 minutes of music that's all at the same tempo with the, you know, that's not really a journey.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like there are some people for whom they don't want a journey out of their music.
Right.
And what's funny is that I can't honestly say I can't talk shit on people like that. Like that's their own prerogative. I personally seek something a lot deeper musically, but it's like, you know, everyone's on their own journey.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I just had this conversation 2 or 3 days ago. I was talking to some lady and she was like, "Well, actually I don't listen to music. I don't like to listen to music. It distracts me." And I was like, wow, okay. I don't know what to say to you. 'Cause like, I can't wrap my head around. Like, good for you. I respect that. I'm not going to push anything on you, but I can't wrap my head around that, lady.
Yeah. Well, even like what's really funny is my own girlfriend, Kate, doesn't listen to lyrics.
Really?
Yeah, which is hilarious because it's like I literally stopped, like, you know, the part where we find out about each other.
Right.
So my background, grew up on classic metal, but went into jazz, classical music in college, got out of that, you know, ended up in New York where I really sort of dove deep into like a lot of the trad folk and songwriter stuff. And it really became important to me, lyrics, which is hilarious because it's like, you know, coming from jazz or, you know, it's like the lyrics are just, they're not
the least important thing.
Yeah.
They're just placeholders for the vocalist.
Right. Yeah, for real though. And but you know, it's like I just, you know, I remember I have the one record that I put out is lyrically super personal, and like, you know, trying to connect with her when we had first met, you know, and I gave her this album, you know, it's like, oh, what do you think, you know, and she just like there was no inroad, you know, and she was like, oh, it sounds nice, but like, you know, like I've cut myself open here. Let's,
right.
You know,
like, what, did you know what's
but that's the other part of the equation, like being an artist, right? It's like we are exposing our most tender parts, you know, in this process, and in turn, we're creating a mountain for ourselves.
Yeah,
you know, and so that's
really accurate.
Well, and like you said, it's like when you connect with a fan, you get to impart on them the things that the keys that they might need,
right,
to like really understand it in a deep way. Like what's beautiful about pop music, and like I actually love Dua Lipa, funny enough, and I was talking with my boss at School of Rock about this, and like how it's like the way that music is produced, it just elevates the entire time. There's always something new, and we're just all, you know, but it's like for people like you and I, we're doing that too. It's just not in this like necessarily obvious way.
Yeah, it's more like expanding than building.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so anyway, appreciate you, man.
Oh yeah. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, good shit. Yeah, okay. So, man, we're covering a lot of bases here.
I don't remember where we were.
Yeah.
You got me lost that time.
It's all good. It's all good. So I want to spin off of the Jacob Collier thing. Like, who else? Doesn't have to be no order of priority, but like, who are the people that you have been listening to maybe in the last year, maybe some pandemic finds versus the stuff, before that? Like what are the big listening
Groundbreaking
voyages?
new discoveries.
Yes.
All right. Jacob Collier definitely was one. Another one was this guy. He's a French composer named Igor. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. It's 3 R's. But he does it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like traditional French music mixed with like Baroque era music with black metal.
Dope.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. That's where I discovered what breakcore is. Still haven't really figured that one out, but it's a thing.
But it's
it
a thing.
exists.
Yeah.
You should look into it. It's interesting.
Yeah. Folks at home, I'm writing this down, by the way. I'm taking notes in class. Yeah.
Let's see. There's Jacob Collier and Igor. And then, let's see. Who else have I found recently? There's this really nice jazz band called Lydian Collective. And regrettably, all of their music is not in Lydian. I was super excited for that. But
yeah. Where are they do you know where they're based?
No, I'm not sure. I think they're spread out. I think they're a
Yeah.
virtual band kind of ordeal,
Yeah.
They're really good. I don't know who else. Let's see. I can't really... I'm drawing a blank on you here.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
It's been a long time since the pandemic started, man,
Man, funny enough today, see if I remember his last name. Laurent, I'm trying to remember his name, but he's this French. I was doing an event, like an online event. It was like a video premiere event, and I met this guy named Laurent, and I can't remember his last name. I feel like it's okay. I don't even want to say it because I'm going to butcher it. But French bass player who just put out this really beautiful video today of just him playing electric bass and an upright player. And again, it's like it's that jazz metal thing. I think it's in the air right now. I don't know what it is, but it's all the jazz people have got some.
I'm not complaining.
Extra great. Yeah. Well, it's nice too, because I feel like jazz is always searching for that.
Yeah. Jazz has taken a weird turn the last couple of years since this whole electronic thing has taken hold.
Yeah.
The new jazz that they're coming out with, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
There's what's the name of that band? Sungazer. That's another one.
Dude, I've heard of them.
Yeah, that's another quarantine find that has
down.
been a huge influence on me, actually. A lot of my electronic influence comes from that band.
Huh. Cool.
But they're they describe they describe themselves as what was it? It's like new age. I can't remember what he said, man. Future jazz. That's what it is.
Right.
Future jazz. And it's such an accurate representation of their sound.
Yeah. Well, dude, my first, I in college, there's this guy named Kwong Vu. You ever hear of him? He played in Pat Metheny's band for a while.
Oh, okay.
But he did this concert at my school where it was, I can't remember who, he had one bass player who was like the bass player, and they had Stomu Takashi, I think is his name. Just amazing pedals, electric bass player, and then Ted Poor on drums. And it was like, that was, in a weird way, it's like that to me felt like the jazz version of what you're doing from the metal side. And it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life.
Right on.
I can say that. It's like, and Kwong played with pedals too. So it was like, everyone in the band sort of had this amplified thing.
Right.
And they were doing doing jazz standards in just like, it was, it's funny. It was jazz standards. And then it was like I think they did like Something by the Beatles, but it was like, but it was all this just beautiful sonic texture. And then just, you get hit with that emotion that only metal can really get to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get that kind of atmosphere from other places.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you
You gotta love those experiences, though. Just you just walk into a show one day and then you walk out not being the same person.
Yeah. What are some of those shows that you've had?
Let's see. Probably the biggest one for me was, have you ever heard of Trioscapes? Mm-mm. So the bassist for Between the Buried and Me has this other band called Trioscapes, and it's just drums and bass and saxophone, but they play progressive metal with those instruments.
Cool.
So they're playing jazz, but it's in a it's sonically packaged as if it's metal, and it's so great. So we went and saw them, and they were not the band that I intended to see that night. I don't know if I had heard of them before that or not, but we saw them, and dude's up there ripping on his saxophone, and then he turns on the distortion and the looper, and he's still like, and I was like, wait a second. You can do that with a saxophone? So I went like a week later, I went and bought my friend's old beat up sax for $100.
Yeah.
The same conversation we were having before the show.
Oh, yeah.
I went to record it and I was like, how do you tune this thing?
And then eventually you elevate to that place where it's like, you develop some form of your own mastery. Like Ornette Coleman was like that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you've dug into his music much, but it's like developed a language for himself. Like
Right.
that's it.
Right.
And that's powerful, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Blows my people like that blow my mind.
Yeah.
Always.
Now, have you seen most of the concerts that have moved you? Have they been right here in Knoxville, or have you? Because you're outside of town, right?
Yeah, I actually live out in Sevierville.
Yeah.
I
have other people say
woods.
that because I just mispronounce it every time for whatever reason. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I live out in the woods.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd say it's a good mixture. The kind of music that we listen to, you don't really get coming through Knoxville very often, so it's kind of 50-50 whether you have to go to Atlanta or, North Carolina or wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, where in North Carolina would you drive to?
Asheville. I've seen a bunch of shows in Asheville, actually.
Oh, cool.
I think almost every time I've seen Between the Buried and Me, it's been in Asheville, I think.
Where do they play? What venue?
The Orange Peel?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Saw them at the Orange Peel. I've seen them somewhere else down there, too, but for the life of me, I cannot. I have a T-shirt with it on the back, so
Yeah.
but I can't think of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say it's pretty spread out in this area for sure. Because I think I've only ever been to shows in places that we played, too, back in the day.
Yeah.
So,
and where are the spots where you played?
We played at the Open Court, of course, and, Scruffy City Hall. Mm-hmm. Places like we started at the Long Branch like everybody else does, Then we played a few places in North Carolina. We played at this one place called the Auditorium. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Dude, that sounds familiar.
Okay, so it's half venue and half museum, but it's like one of these weird sideshow museums. So they have it's like a half boy, half monkey, and I'm on stage eyeballing this thing like... Yeah, it was bad. Actually, we played a show at that place, and I botched the saxophone solo in the song Emergence, and there was this elderly Asian man standing in the audience for some reason. And every time I made a wrong move on the sax, he would just give me this look. Yeah. I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's so funny. No, that reminds me of, there's this venue in Salisbury, North Carolina. I can't remember if it's a venue, but it's this place that you throw in the back. They have glass throwing. So you'll be playing your gig, and in the back, like, people will be chucking glass into,
Oh, that's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
punk rock, man.
Dude, really. Well, it's fun. Like, when so I toured around with the Brothers Harmony duo, but we were really like, we both grew up on, he grew up on Metallica and I grew up on Judas Priest. But,
right.
We're distant cousins. It was like, it was all good. But we played as much Americana as we did. We were oftentimes in those kind of settings.
Right.
And it was like, which is also really funny to pair up trad music with, some of the stuff that you're making or even the punk scene.
Oh yeah,
these
I've
overlap
played
points.
some weird lineups I've played with.
Yeah,
people are like, "Yeah, we'll give you a show, but we don't know who to put you with, so you're just gonna play with some random people."
Yeah,
it's like I think one of our first shows, we opened for a rapper. Of
cool.
Of all things,
Yeah.
I'm up there screaming my head off. Everybody in the audience is like, "What is this guy doing right now?"
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
You gotta love the up and coming.
So, have you met any artists that you like fell in love with through that process? Like, did anyone just be like, "Oh, well, shit, this is," you know?
Yeah. So they're not around anymore, unfortunately. So there were these two local bands specifically called Lines Taking Shape and Maps Need Reading. Yeah.
Is Paul?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Because
his old
Paul was
band.
Paul was at the School of Rock, like until recently.
Yeah, me and Paul used to be pretty good buddies back in the day. I haven't seen him since I had kids, but
yeah.
So they were actually one of my favorite bands. When I got to know them, they absolutely blew my mind, because I don't know if you ever heard them or not. Oh, just the absolute most ridiculously experimental stuff I've ever heard. They had one song where the chorus was like, "Pass right through me, I am an orifice," but everybody was playing a different meter. Just the weirdest stuff. And then Maps Need Reading was another one of those for me. They were a local band, but they're like burned into my memory. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, just because their vibe. They had they were progressive rock with like trumpet.
Yeah.
it was really cool. It was really cool. They reminded I couldn't even begin to describe it to you.
They were like
Such
Russian
a
cake
unique
put
vibe.
together.
Yeah, there you go. Such a unique vibe. They were cool dudes.
Oh, it's dope. Yeah, man. That's such a thing, you know, like adding not horns. Horns in a rock band is like Real Big Fish.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
whatever. But like horn in a rock band.
Yeah, one single horn. It's kind of, you got to work pretty hard to get it to fit correctly, because they just have such a unique color to them. It's hard to make it work with everything else that's already so colorful.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always impressed when bands find a way for that to make sense.
Right. And then you start throwing flute and harp and glockenspiel.
and we're right where you are today. And we're doing time. Cool. Dude, let's think about this. Man, what, you know, as a guy who you sort of have your own world around you, you know, what is the next step for you artistically? Is there something that you're looking at or something you see on the horizon?
Well, actually, I'm in the middle of some really big stuff right now. I released Music by Numbers in March, and then immediately started working on a new song because this guy contacted me from the Netherlands wanting to distribute. Wanting to hook up with me for a distribution deal. So I've been working with him.
Yeah.
I just yesterday I sent off the last stems of the single to announce that partnership. So pretty soon he'll be starting on a music video for it, and there's all kinds of stuff in the works. And then on top of that, through marketing for White Stag, it's one of these situations where, you know, sometimes you find exactly what you need to hear at exactly the right time.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so I'm doing my generic marketing thing one morning, and I contacted this lady, and she went and listened to my music. Well, she hit me up later on, and like we've been friends ever since. I was exactly the music she needed at that exact point in time, and she needed to tell me how much she appreciated it. And then I'm like, you know, I actually talk back to people, so she was like awe-stricken, and we got to talking and became friends. And through her, I have started acting. And I actually just got done with like my first acting gig just a couple of days ago because of her.
Cool.
That was her reciprocation for how much she appreciates my music. She was like, "Well, I'll just give you an acting job." And I was like, "That's weird, but okay, sure."
You do this thing so well. Here's something totally different.
Yeah.
But
She was like, "Well, you have a good voice." And I was like, "What does that have to do with acting, lady?" But yeah, it turned out pretty well, actually.
What is it?
Okay, so it's this screenplay called John Sunshine's Lost Rock and Roll Tapes. And it's like this guy goes around the country and collects footage from experimental rock bands back in the 70s, and just all kinds of weird shit happens while he's doing it. So she asked me to be like one of the friends in the pilot So I just
Cool.
got done recording a table read for that.
Wow. That's dope.
It was super random.
Yeah.
Super random.
But
and a
that,
lot of
man,
fun.
that's it though. Like that is the power of personal connection.
Yeah. That's
And
just because
exposing
because
yourself.
I messaged one lady one morning, just doing my thing. I sent her a message that was like, "Hey, thanks for following me. I appreciate it." And that was that. Now I have like a whole nother line of work.
Yeah.
Just because, if you don't put yourself out there, nothing's ever going to happen. And it happens in the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
It's always the most unexpected things that get you where you're going.
Totally. What? So, that begs the question. It's like, what? Do you have any other of those stories that are worth mentioning to the folks on the radio that they would like to hear? Or
Oh, I don't know.
it's okay. I don't want.
I don't
If you
know.
think of one, interrupt later.
All right, I got
Because that was the first time I toured the country. It was with that folk duo, and we left for 2.5 months and had maybe 3 weeks of that time accounted for. And we knew we were going all the way around, so it's like we had a handful of gigs, but mostly we were just like showing up places. And, like sometimes like El Paso, I remember the first time we went to El Paso, there was nowhere to fucking play in El Paso. And so we happened to go to this place, Jovini and Bronson's, and we just walked in with our guitars, like, "You guys want music tonight?" It was like a Monday. And they're like, Sure. Yeah. And they let us sleep in this yoga studio across the street, but they're like,
Nice.
"But you have to get up and get out of there in the morning because
they're yoga
gonna."
people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, and the next time we went through town, we had that as a gig and we actually made money, and it's like there are just so many of those experiences that I just personally have experienced them. And so I know we share this. It's like just putting yourself out there as a human,
Yeah.
And our art has this amazing thing of going so far beyond just this conversation. It's like, it is emotion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's definitely it's that reason actually that like I don't know how to say this without it sounding like arrogant, but
Yeah,
I don't really consider myself an artist so much as a conduit. You know what I mean?
It does, but you're totally right, and you are.
Oh well, thank you.
If you get
now,
what I'm saying.
now I don't feel like such a narcissist. Thanks.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, you know what? I got another one for you.
Okay.
A guy got a hold of me, and this was actually someone that I had not personally contacted. I had no idea he listened to White Stag, and he got a hold of me, and he was like, "You know what? My brother got murdered like 2 or 3 weeks ago." He was like, "My brother got murdered, and we didn't have any other family, and I've been having a really hard time with it. And you know what? Your music has really helped me the last couple of days, man." He was like, "I just wanted to reach out and tell you that."
Yeah.
And like those
man.
moments where you're like, oh, my heart. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have too many of those stories where people come to me like that, though. Honestly, it doesn't. It wouldn't be so gratifying if it wasn't so rare, though. At
Right.
the same time.
Well, but there's also this piece of like the difference. I think the difference in our experiences, is that like you are creating something that's just incredibly intimate,
Yeah.
and incredibly unique in a way that it's like, it's not going to be understood by people unless it's framed for them in a way that they can.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas like two guys singing harmonies and screaming into a microphone is like, people know what to do with that.
Oh, yeah.
Like our game was like do that in such a way that it makes people question things,
Right.
and make it feel as raw and intentional, and this as sort of as your music,
Yeah.
in that way, totally different, but also
Yeah.
there's
Same
a sameness
intention.
there.
Different packaging.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I respect, can't see it. I'm flashing a sign here that says respect. I don't know that says respect. Thankfully,
I
there's
think
no.
you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of respect for that. So we are steadily approaching the end of the show. Before we get off of this. Is it the White Stag at Bandcamp? Is that where we're sending people?
So actually, I have my own website set up now. We have whitestagofficial.com.
Okay.
And from there, right now, it's not fully fleshed out. Right now, it's logos that lead you to wherever you might want to listen to me or follow me. It leads to Facebook and Instagram and has links to Bandcamp and Amazon Music and everything. Just go to whitestagofficial.com. You'll find where you're going for.
That's amazing.
Oh, I even almost got the advertisement tone there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're flashing that Audible cred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come and listen to White Stag.
Dude, is that what you sound like? I did listen. I did listen to it. Like, I listened to some of the samples, and I was like,
Oh, yeah. It depends on the book. So, like, for the hypnosis books, I have to talk like this.
oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about annoying? Record 200 pages at that pace. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then edit mouth sounds out of you whispering. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Oh my gosh.
It's fun, but it gets frustrating sometimes.
You should just do a whole album of mouth sounds.
I keep making this joke to my wife that I need to release an album of out-of-context narration that's just like the end of me messing up a line where you're like, oh,
yeah.
just loop those together, you know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I did that to her one day, actually, because there are 2 or 3 books where there are female parts, so I just enlisted my wife's help and had her record them for me. So I actually took her out of context blurbs and I made them into a beat. And I was like, hey, sweetie, check this out. And I played it and she was like, just stop. Just stop. Don't do that.
Dude, that just reminded me of this great thing. Back when I was in college, I found out that you could take samples of President Barack Obama's autobiography and like the parts where he's like quoting other people, but he's saying profane things.
Right.
But it's clearly Barack Obama speaking.
Oh,
And those samples are just out there on the internet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So just, I think I did something with them at the time. I feel like you could make art, though. We could elevate this thing.
Oh, yeah. We need to go somewhere with this.
Yeah. Dude, let's wrap this up, man. This is a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun, man. I'm glad we finally got to meet, even if it's kind of natural that there were microphones between us, actually.
Yeah, I know. This is sort of, as recording artists, it's like, this is sort of what we do. Again, whitestagofficial.com.
Yes.
Yep. And folks at home, one more time, let me just say it. On Sunday, 2 to 6, Real Knoxville Music, hosting a benefit show. Come out and support. Come out and support.
Sunday. Be there, be there, be there.
You're going to be my hype man. We're going to take samples of this and just play it after every show.
All right, but you got to give me a stack of fake money.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I got to toss money out while I'm being your hype man. That's how it works.
Love it. Love it. So, okay, Sunday is that. Make Music Knoxville happening on June 21st. And with that, have a great evening. Thank you.
Whisper